Gray, part of the bakery organization. Thank you so much. Mr. Devon Templeton up there in Memphis, Tennessee. Mr. Peon out there in Japan, thank you for joining in. Mr. Daryl Ranson in Nashville, thank you so much. Patricia and Frank Bowman out in Elk Grove, California, thank you so much. Mr. Brian Baker, Regional Director out here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Miss Konhade over in Japan, thank you so much. There's two in Japan today, her and her husband. Miss Tracy Gilmore, thank you so much for joining. Oh, Regional Director, Mr. Julian Lewis, who will be our special guest speaker tomorrow, Mr. Lewis. Miss Marcia Carter, thank you so much in Fresno. Miss Caroline Baker, we want to thank you as well. Miss Melissa Vaughn, it's good seeing you, dear. Thank you so much. Miss Diane Collins out in Australia, mate. Australia. Thank you so much. Miss Delilah up in Colorado, thank you so much for joining us. Miss Castro, thank you so much for joining us in Arizona. And Mr. Lance Kelly, thank you so much. Mr. Dave Culver, thank you so much. Miss Martinez in Iowa, there you go, Iowa, yeah, Iowa. And Miss Belinda Batiste, thank you so much. Thank you. We want to thank you all for joining the call this morning, excuse me. As you know, you probably saw the flyer sent out this morning. I sent the flyer out on my call this morning for this young lady who's gonna wrap she called me a little while ago. Miss Thomas, I couldn't sleep. I woke up early. See, that's why I know when people get up early and they're woken up because they're so excited about their message, that says a lot about what they're gonna bring for us today. So she's so excited about what she's talking about today, and she called me and said, I'm so excited, so giddy about it. So I said, okay, I'm glad that you did, because that shows me that's a good sign. It's gonna be a great one. So without further ado, this young lady, she hails from actually from Fresno area. She's one of our own, as you well know. She and her husband are business owners. They flip gas stations. They like to call them flippers. Great community leader. She's a great wife. She's a mother of two beautiful fur babies. She's a regional director in our business. She also has a master's degree. That's right, a master's degree in business, and she also has a master's degree and a bachelor's degree also. And after starting her own business, she says, "This is not what I went to school for. This is the real world." She comes from a long line of entrepreneurs and business owners. She and her husband had her own first business right out of college. Before she was 26 years old. She's a future regional vice president, senior Sucro Champions member. Without further ado, one of our own, the great, the one and only, you know, she does our Wednesday meetings. One and only, Miss Natasha Ismail. Let's give her a hand as she comes on. Good morning. 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 Good morning.
Good morning. So thank you, Mr. Thomas, for that amazing introduction. And thank you so much for having me on today. I am super, super excited. I don't know if you can tell I look a little tired because I could not sleep because I was so excited about what I'm going to talk about today. And I've been getting a lot of questions and things like that. So we'll get into that. But I want to thank Mr. Thomas for a second. So one thing that I want everyone to realize is I have not seen another senior vice president that does what he does. And he does not have to do what he does. And the fact that, you know, some people might ever take that for granted, like, we just cannot. So before we do that, I just want everyone to thank Mr. Thomas, like give him a clap, give him like prayer hands, anything, because he's amazing and we love him to death. And without him, we definitely would not be here. So I see a lot of amazing faces on here. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. So I hope everybody has a notebook, and I hope everybody has a pen, and I hope everybody is okay with me being very, very straightforward, because I don't know, for those of you that know me, you know I'm straightforward. For those of you that don't know me, it might come off very straightforward, but just know I come from a good place and I love everyone. So if everyone could not give me like a physical consent to me just being real with everyone. Okay, cool. Melissa's like, yes. Okay. So what I want to talk to everyone today about is, you probably saw the flyer, right? How to be a boss in your business. Okay, Miss Patricia, I love your shirt. I have the same one. So everyone saw how to be a boss in your business, okay? Now, what happens in the business and in ACN is sometimes we don't treat the business like a business. And sometimes we don't even treat it like a job. So now I want everyone to look at both sides of the spectrum. Now, on one hand, if you had a job, okay, let's look at the things that you would have to do. So with the job, you would have to wake up when you have to be at work, right? So be super, super early. You got to get ready, okay? Then you got to jump in your car. Then you got to drive to work. And like Mr. Thomas says, your car knows how to get to work without you, okay? So you don't even have to be in it. You don't even have to be controlling it. So you would have to get to work. Then you got to go inside to your boss that you don't like, which is probably keeping an eye out for you to make sure you're there on time. Then you got the supervisor to deal with. And then you got your coworkers to deal with that you might like, and you might even stay at the job just because you're coworkers. But there's always that one that you just don't get along with, right? Then after you go through your day, you got lunchtime, right? You hear the bell, the internal bell, right? You get a 30-minute break, okay? And on this break, what happens is you try to mentally refocus yourself because you just hated at work, okay? Then right after that, what happens? You go back to your desk, you start working again, and then a little while later, then you get to go home, okay? Now, let me ask everyone a question. How many times have you ever been late for work? Maybe a couple, right? If we get, I mean, some people, like, I used to be late like all the time, but I knew the exact second I had to leave my house to make it there on time. Anybody else? The exact minute you would have to leave. And you knew as soon as that minute passed, you were going to be late and you're probably going to get marked like a warning or whatever, right? Now, how many of us treat that business the same way? How many of us treat ACN that way? So check this out. What I mean by that is how many of us wake up early for ACN, for your business? How many of us are on the conference calls on time? How many of us are late to the conference calls? Now, just imagine for a second, if Mr. Clemens started to lock the meetings right at the time that we start, how many of us would not be in the meeting, honestly, if they locked it on time? Okay, so how many of us schedule out or know our schedule for ACN? Okay, how many of us schedule out our meetings and we, talk to people and we deal with people even if we might not want to? Okay, so now notice the things that you'll do for your job that you won't do for ACN. Notice the things you'll do if your boss asks you to do something at a job, no questions asked, because your butt is going to get fired if you don't do it, right? But why don't we treat our own business that way? So now with our own business, who's our accountability partner? First and foremost, yourself, right? And that's not always the best idea. It doesn't always work, right? Because you will not keep yourself as accountable as somebody else will. Now, how many of us have an accountability partner? If you want to share, just raise your hand. Okay, just a couple of people. Now, how hard is it to keep yourself accountable? It's pretty difficult, right? Because you're the most lenient with yourself, but at the same time, you're the most hard on yourself. Because what happens is we start to get mad at ourselves for not delivering. We start to get mad at ourselves for not performing. We start to get mad at ourselves when we don't have a guest on the call and we hear our senior vice president over and over and over teach us how. He's taught us how. He's taught us what to say. He's taught us where to go. He's had people on here that are having so much success and they talk about how they're getting numbers, how they're getting people on the calls. Doesn't mean that people are going to join right away, because we know the fortune is in the follow-up, right? So in order to be that way in your business, you have to take the reins and you have to be a boss in your own business. So you have to take control, right? Now, how many of us are hard on ourselves and we're just like, man, I didn't get a person on, or, oh my gosh, look at that person. Oh my gosh, they have another one. Oh my gosh, they got another IBO. Oh my God, they got another customer. How many of us are ever like that on the call, right? Sometimes you're just like, dude, like, can I just catch a break? Like, can I just get one person on the call, right? But guess what? How many of us have let that stop us? A few of us have, right? I know I have in the past, because you get into analysis paralysis, right? You overanalyze things so much and you start thinking so much and you start thinking about the what ifs and stuff like that. Well, what if you just stop worrying about it? What if you just stop worrying about it? What if you knew as soon as you got to work, you knew the files you had to put in order, you knew the work that you had to do, you had things laid out? What if we knew that? How many of us ever at a job, we don't get emotional? Do we? Like, things that happen, if your boss tells you to do something and something messes up or you got to do something, you don't just sit there and cry about it, or you don't sit there and, oh my God, why is this happening to me? We don't do that. You just do it. You don't get emotional about it. You don't start crying. You just do it because you know you have to do it. So in this business, I want everyone to understand that you're building a legacy for your family and for yourself. Now, what I mean by that, a legacy, when you think of that word, I want you to be conscious of what it is that you think about when you hear the word legacy. Now, everybody imagine a baton race, okay? Everybody knows like the 100-meter dashes or whatever races that they do, okay? Now, when somebody starts that, what happens? The first person starts off with the baton, okay? They run. They run so fast and so hard to the point where they can't breathe anymore, to the point where they might be in pain, they might be hurting, and then they yell to the next person to take the stick. And then what does the next person do? The next person grabs the stick and they run. They run as fast as they can, as hard as they can. They might be in pain, they might be suffering, but they don't complain, they get it done. They get to the third person. And then what happens there at the third person? They yell again to take the stick. Guess what? That first person or the first people were your grandparents. The second person could be your mom, dad, uncle, aunt, whoever raised you. That's the second person. Now, who do you think that third person is in that story? You're the third person. You are the third person that the baton has been passed to. But the only thing is, what are you going to do with it? Because in the race, if a person doesn't grab the stick and they don't run, that's a disqualification. So now I have a question for everyone. How many of us disqualified ourselves from our own race? How many of us have disqualified ourselves? You're just like, that's it. I don't know how I'm going to get this done. I don't know if I'm ever going to get this done. I don't even know why I'm doing this anymore. There's times like that, but guess what? Just like what we're going through right now, you cannot give up mid-race. What makes a champion is someone that keeps going. What makes the champion is someone that grabs the stick and they're like, you know what? I'm going to run. I'm going to run. I'm in pain. I can't breathe. I'm sweating. I'm seeing double, but I'm going to run. And these are the times that we're going to find out who's really a champion and who's really just there being a raving fan. In times like this, you have to know how to step up. You have to know how to take the stick and say, you know what? I'm going to finish this legacy for my family. And then it's going to continue on after that. But guess what? Who has to be the one to change it? At what point does the game change in that race? Does it change with the first person, the second person, or the third person? Which one? What number? The third person changes the legacy. And if you're that third person, guess what? The first two generations did what they had to do. You know your grandmother's story. You know your mother's story. You know your grandfather's story. You know your grandmother, your dad's story. But do you know your story? What's your story? What's your legacy going to be? Do you know why you're doing this? Have we forgotten why we're doing this? Have you given up in the race? Have you disqualified yourself? Because guess what? This is the time that we need to step up and you need to be a boss in your business. And there's so many training calls and we have a plethora of information and so much knowledge and wisdom that if you just went to the YouTube channel for the rest of the year and even part of next year and listen to something every single day, you still wouldn't run out of information. But that's the difference. Why do RVPs and SVPs and RDs, why do we give out secrets? Like, why do people give out secrets? Right? They're just like hard work, dedication, right? Commitment, consistency. They give you all these things, but why are people so open with what it takes to get there? Because they know that not everybody's going to use it, right? If for those of you that know the 80-20 rule, we know, just like we heard Mr. Jordan Adler talk about, right? 80% of the stuff comes from only 20% of the people. So the other 80%, there's nothing wrong with them. They're just not committed. They're not focused, right? They might not know their legacy. They might not know why they're getting there, right? Akiko's over there breathing hard. You okay? You in the race? So everybody needs to take control. Okay, that's the bottom line. So I'm gonna give everyone a couple of tips on how you can be a boss in your business. What it's gonna take for you to be a boss, what it's gonna take for you to create that legacy. Because guess what? You have the baton. But now it's time to determine how you finish. Because the one thing you couldn't control, or you can't control anymore, is how you started the race. But the thing that you can control is how you finish it. And you're in control of how you finish it, okay? So the first thing that you're gonna need, you have to have a vision. So you have to know where you're going. You have to know why you're wanting to go there, and you have to know what it looks like even before you get there. You have to have a long-term vision, because do we know this business is long-term? Yes or yes? But we know we can make money short-term too, right? But if you don't know where you're going, if you don't know what your end goal is, what your end vision is, how are you supposed to get there? That's like jumping in the car. Oh, I'm gonna drive over to see Mr. Thomas in Vegas. Okay, do you have a map? Nope. Do you know how you're gonna get there? Nope. Do you have gas in your car? Nope. Do you have snacks? Nope. How are you supposed to get there? How is that even supposed to work? It's not gonna work, right? It doesn't work that way. So you have to have a vision. So now for a second, everyone think about what you envision your life to look like at this point in time. Not necessarily whatever's going on, but just at the age that you are right now, what did you imagine your life to be like? Because I know it's probably not where we're at right now, right? And now if we look back at it, do you think if we would have changed a couple of things, if we would have been a little more committed, if we would have given a little bit more, that we could be there right now? Probably, right? So that vision that you have in your head, now I want you to think about what you wanted it to be like. But since Mr. Thomas has expanded our horizon so much, think about where you want to go next. Think about what you want to do. Think about how much you want to make. Do you have a money goal set? Every single year on New Year's Eve, everybody sits down and looks at what they have lined up for the next year. Or they might even write it at the last minute, right? At that moment, you have a talk with yourself. You're just like, this is it. This is the year. This is my year. New year, new me, right? How many of us have said new year, new me before? Exactly. But how many of us have actually completed everything on our list that we wrote? I have not met anybody yet that has completed that whole list that they made for New Year's. Now, guess what? The good thing is you get to restart it whenever you want. So what you can do today, just like a lot of speakers have said, you can fire yourself and rehire yourself. But no matter how much people say it for you, no matter how much people give you vision, if you don't have it for yourself, you're not going to be able to get there. That's just like the paintings that Mr. Thomas put up. They're like illusions, and you could put something up, you might see an elephant, but the next person sees a rabbit. I mean, everybody has a different vision. What's your vision? What's your legacy going to be? Now, the second thing you're going to need is commitment. You have to be committed to that vision. Because guess what? Without commitment, does anything really happen? No. If you go to school, you have to be committed. If you want to look like Mr. Julian Lewis, that takes commitment, right? If you want to be successful in a business, you have to be committed. If you want to be successful in a relationship, you have to be committed. It all comes down to commitment. How committed are you? Why are you doing the business? If it's for your family, are you committed to becoming that version of yourself to better your family's future, to better your future? Are you committed? Commitment. It's such a small word, even though it looks really long, it's such a small word, but the meaning of that word is huge, huge meaning to that word, commitment. Now, the third thing, consistency. You have to be consistent, okay? You have to be consistent. If you skip a day here and there of eating healthy, is it gonna affect you too much? Not really, right? But what if your one day turns into 2? Your 2 days turn into 3, and then that turns into a week or 2. And then that turns into a month or 6 months or a year. Are you gonna feel it? You're gonna feel it, right? Because you weren't consistent with it. Anything you want takes consistency, right? So you have to have a vision, number 1. Number 2, you have to be committed. Number 3, you have to be consistent, okay? Now, how many of us get emotional about the business? Just raise your hand. Have you ever just been like so emotional and you're just like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know how I'm gonna do this. I don't know why I'm doing this, da, 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 blah, blah, blah. All these excuses, right? Like so much noise in our head, okay? What if you could get rid of that noise? What if you could get rid of all of that? What if you could get rid of the emotions? What if you could get rid of the anger and the sadness when somebody tells you they're gonna be on a call and they never show up? And then Mr. Thomas is like, what happened, right? How many guests did you have on the call? None. Why, what happened? Because guess what? He's never gonna ask you what happened, okay? Because like he says, and like Jim Rohn says, what fits in the box? A number or a story? A number, right? It doesn't matter. Don't you think he's heard every excuse in the book or every reason in the book? He's a senior vice president. He's heard more than anyone can even make up, okay? When you hear some of his stories, you're just gonna be like, did somebody really do that to you? Because they don't know who he is, right? So you have to know that. You have to know that, not to be emotional. Now, what if I could give everybody a tip on how not to be emotional? Would anybody want to hear about it? Who wants to hear about not being emotional in your business? Okay, taking the emotions out of it. What if it was just pure results, just pure action, pure results, no emotions attached? Just like people say, no strings attached, well, no emotions attached, okay? Now, I got a lot of questions about when we win RD and the emotional roller coaster and things like that. And I mean, we felt like we went through quite a bit, but guess what? Getting to RVP and SVP is gonna be even more. So if you can't prepare and get to RD, then you ain't gonna make it to RVP, SVP, okay? So I'm gonna give everyone something that if you start this today, how many days does it take to create a habit? 21, okay? 21 days to create a habit. If we start today, a little bit after August, you should be into a habit, right? So now how many of us have heard about the 100 squares? The 100 square system. Okay, cool. Now, how many of us have actually applied the 100 square system? All right, so remember we talked about the 80-20 rule? Do you guys remember that? So out of about 20 people, about 17, 18 people raised their hands. Now, out of that, only 3 people raised their hands that they actually applied it. And then we wonder why we're at where we're at, why we feel like how we feel, and why we're not getting the results that we're not getting. So that's like me asking everyone, how many of us have a membership to a gym, right? And then 18 of us raise our hands, and then I ask you, okay, great, how many of you actually go to the gym? And 3 of us raise our hands. And then we wonder why we are the way we are, right? So I want to give this to everyone because honestly, this is what helped us get out of that little spot of just like that noise and just like, are you even good enough to do this? Like, can you even do this? Why are you even doing this? Like, why don't you just go do something else, right? This is going to take a lot of work. Are you sure you want to put in that much work? Are you sure you have time to do all of that? Right? All the stuff that we tell ourselves, all the stuff, like that day when Mr. Julian Lewis did the call about how to love yourself, like internally I was crying, okay? Because remember, we don't show emotions up front, okay? So everyone just, we have to not let that self-talk get to us. We have to learn how to shut it down, okay? Because guess what? How many of you thought that there was going to be a time when you weren't going to make it through something? You just weren't going to make it through that situation. You just thought it was the worst possible time in your life. And you told yourself, I don't know how I'm going to make it through this. I don't know how I'm going to recover. I don't know how I'm going to keep going. And now guess what? If you're listening to my voice right now, you made it. You made it through that time that you thought was your darkest time. No matter what you went through, only you know what you went through. But guess what? You made it through. So if you made it through 100% of your worst days that you thought you couldn't make it through, what are you capable of? Like when I talked about the 2 baby birds, one just goes for it and flies off, and the other one's scared to even get off the ledge. Now, let me ask you, are you on the ledge just looking over, or are you going to actually jump off? Just jump off. Just do it, right? So now by doing this one thing, we were able to hit regional director in like weeks. We put in over 300 points in like 5 weeks. And I know that compared to a lot of people, that's not a lot. And to some people, that might be a little bit, or that might be a lot. Whatever the case may be, we got it done. So if everybody wants to know how we got it done, I'm going to tell everyone who wants to know. Like, do we really want to know? Like, I need some energy here. Okay, we got to wake up, people. Some places it's morning, some places it's evening, but we got to wake up regardless, okay? All right, so on your piece of paper, everyone write down 100 squares, okay? Now this chart of the 100 squares that Mr. Jeff Street talked about at Long Beach International last year completely changed the game, like completely, okay? So now check this out. Just like Mr. Thomas said, what goes in the box? Numbers, right? So by doing this chart of 100 squares, you are removing all emotion from the business. And that was probably the best thing that we ever started doing, okay? Now I started this thing in February, and by the second row in March, we hit regional director. And I literally was like, no emotions. I have to finish the race, right? I had the baton. I had to keep going. I had to do this for my family. We still have to do this, right? So to finish the race, we started that 100 squares. So now I'll show everyone what mine looks like. So if you want, this can be any size you want, okay? So it doesn't have to be like a super big poster board. I know people that have like a whole wall covered, and I'm not about that life, but if it works for you, like do it, okay? So, so you can do it if that works for you, okay? So mine, I just got a poster board and I cut it in half. Okay, so cut it in half. Now the whole premise behind the board is you divide this board into 100 squares, okay? Now each square represents an exposure. Now the 100 exposures should take you to regional director, if not very, very close, or if not way past it, okay? I don't care where you are in the business, your CQ, ETL, RD, RVP, whatever you are, as long as you're not an SVP, you can still, I mean, it'd be great if you could still do it at SVP too, which you can. But whatever you are, you can start this chart wherever you are. But when you do it, what you gotta do is when they're all split, you have to have the name of the person, okay, that you showed the business to. So we started this on February 3rd. And by March, where's my second row? There it is. By March 5th, we were like wrapping up RD. And that's barely the start of the third row, 2 boxes in. So now just imagine, if you know by doing this, you can hit regional director definitely by the end of this year. Why would you not do it? We talked about the other day how Mr. Thomas showed us that all of the things that people want, they're right outside of your comfort zone. But guess what? People aren't willing to do it, right? They're just not willing to go the extra mile. Okay, everyone, please update your device name. Okay, got it. Now, on this chart, their name, the date that they saw the business, name, date. I write down how they saw the business just personally to get to see what the ratios are. Like if they were on the co-founder's Zoom call, if they were on our Zoom call, then just write down how they saw the business, okay? And then you wanna write down what happened, okay? Did they become a customer, IBO, or give you a referral, okay? So name, date, how they saw the business, and then what happened. And personally, what I do, because we started after this whole situation, I write down how I know them. So are they from a networking app? Are they from somebody that I know? Are they an in-person referral? Are they a cold market peek at Starbucks? Whatever they are, write that down. And then guess what? Here's a bonus, okay? Because I know we like bonuses, right? So here's a bonus. What you can do with this, use this for follow-up. We know the fortunes in the follow-up, but how many of us have so many pages of like people's names from PBRs and things like that? We don't even know where that paper's at, first of all. Second of all, you could have had an SVP on that sheet of paper. So now what if by doing this chart, you can keep everybody in one place and you don't have to keep worrying about, oh my God, what was that person's name, right? No, you have everything here. So now guess what? Personally challenge yourself. Like personally challenge yourself to just get it done. Like something has to snap at you to the point where you're just like, enough is enough. And I was on Miss Chanel Burt's call, I believe it was last week, her Women Winning Wednesday call. Something that she had her whole team do, which I'm gonna have everyone here do today, because we have quite a few people on the call. After we get off this call, I want everyone to just pause for about 5 seconds, okay? I want you to get your phone and I want you to get the camera on your phone. You need to start a video, okay? You're gonna do it in selfie mode, so that means where you can see yourself, okay? You're gonna start the camera on selfie mode and you're gonna think about all the stuff that you've been through and how you're not at where you deserve to be at in life, okay? And then right at that moment, as soon as you feel that emotion creeping up, I want you to look into the camera and you're gonna tell yourself, say your name and say, enough is enough. Enough is enough. You're gonna record yourself saying that to yourself. And you're gonna watch that every single morning, preferably right before the conference call, because that's gonna get you going. But the reason that Miss Chanel Burt had everybody do this on the team, because guess what? How many of us say enough is enough? Enough is enough, right? How long do you want to be CQ? How long do we want to be ETL? How long do we want to be RD? Even though it's not about positions and it's not about titles, but you know that every level in ACN that you go up, you know that your income bracket changes. You know that you don't have to worry like how Miss TJ and Miss Melissa, how we talked about, you know, our parents always told us, as soon as you leave a room, you better turn off the light because I'm not paying that bill, right? Like, why should you bring down your lifestyle to match your income? And Mr. Julian Lewis is laughing over there. He's having a blast. So why should you bring down your lifestyle to match your income? Listen to what I said. Why bring down your lifestyle to match your income? Why not bring your income up to match your lifestyle? Do you really think Bill Gates, when he was first starting out, he brought his lifestyle down to his income, or he figured out a way to bring his income up to his lifestyle? Because how many of us right now, if I asked you, okay, what car do you guys want to buy? Like when you hit regional vice president and you get promoted in front of tens of thousands of people and Mr. Greg Provenzano's there telling your story, telling your name, and you go up on stage, if I asked you, what car would you be driving at RVP? Everybody knows that car, and guess what? It's not the car that you have right now, right? Or is it? I mean, it could be, which is great, but if it's not, then we got some work to do, right? If you hear that, why do we have to bring our lifestyle down? That's just like saying when we have a job, don't let your paycheck determine your lifestyle, right? Why do our paychecks have to determine where we live, in what zip code we live, where we go grocery shopping, where we go out to eat on restaurants, always flipping to the backside of the menu to look for the 2 for $5 deals at Chili's? being tired of, you know, having to go to AM/PM to get gas there because we can't afford to go to Chevron. And there's a couple of people laughing, but it's like, it's real. Like, how many of us have experienced that? You know, instead of going somewhere really nice to eat, you're going to Chili's, doing the 2 for $5, 2 for $10, because you know that that's all your paycheck will allow you to get. You know that there's a better area that you could be living in, but you're not living there because your paycheck is telling you where to live. You know that you deserve a better car, one that doesn't make sounds, or one that you don't have to kickstart every time you get in the car to go to work. But guess what? You don't have it because your paycheck is determining what you drive. Why are you letting your bosses determine your lifestyle? Do you really think that your boss is over there driving a beat up car? No. Do you really think that your boss is going to Chili's and Applebee's looking at the 2 for $5 menu? No. He's over there going to Ruth Chris, ordering a steak with the side of mashed potatoes and garlic bread or whatever else they have there, because I haven't been there in so long. But all of that stuff, like, at some point you have to be tired of it. And at some point you have to tell yourself enough is enough. You know that you have something that is a legacy company. You have something that can build a legacy for your family. But guess what? If you never take the baton from your parents, if you never run with the baton, if you don't push through the pain, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make a legacy. Do you know how much training has to be done for that 100 meters that that person runs? There's hours and hours and days of training that that person goes through in order to finish the race. Because all it takes is the drop of that stick and he's out. That's all it takes. In a blink of an eye, you're out. You're out of the game. There's people that are like, oh, I'm still in ACN. Oh, I'm still plugging in. Oh, you know, like, yeah, I'm just taking a break. No, you're not. Those are the first steps of somebody dropping out. That's like in college. Mentally, you already checked out. You're still going to class. Oh, I'm here. I got my books. Like, I'm coming. No, you out. Like, you dropped out a long time ago, okay? You just physically still show up to class because you know that teacher takes attendance. Okay, you know that teacher takes attendance. You know that. But you have to know what you have. Like, let me tell you all a story before I wrap things up. So when we were students, right? When we were in elementary school, everybody think way back, right? Because it feels like it was like 100 years ago. So everybody think way back, okay? Think about elementary school, okay? Everybody got it? You remember how you looked and you were just like, God help me, right? So Mr. Thomas had hair, right? That's what he's telling me right now. So remember when you were in elementary school, okay? Now, I want everybody to remember the first time ever that you got a C on your paper, like, because they still had report cards, okay? That physical piece of paper was the heaviest piece of paper that you ever had to take to your parents at the end of the school year, okay? Now, think back to the first time that you ever got a C on that paper. How many of us went home to our mom and dad and we were like, Mom, like, you don't understand, dude, it's the teacher. The teacher doesn't like me. I don't like the teacher. Teacher doesn't like me. The students are, students make fun of me. I can't do the work. The work's too hard. The teacher doesn't help me. I don't get recess, whatever. How many of us made up excuses as to why we had a C on our paper? Raise your hand. How many of us made excuses? We were like, like, this is why we have a C on the paper, okay? Now, how many of us had our parents tell us, honey, the teacher didn't give you a C, you earned that C? They just like dropped the bomb on us. They were just like, right? And we were just like, what? Like, you're supposed to be on my side, right? But you're telling me that it was my fault? Like, are you crazy? Like, it's not my fault. I just told you, the teacher, the students, all this stuff. Now, how many of us do that with ACN? How many of us give excuses to ourselves, to our upline RD, our upline RVP, our upline SVP, as to why it's not working? And guess what? Just like Mr. Dean Chirali says, if you're doing it and you're consistent, just because you're not getting the results right now doesn't mean you're not going to get them. Okay. They're going to compound and you will get them. But nobody knows that but you. Nobody knows if you're really doing the calls. Nobody knows if when your camera's off, you're really paying attention. Nobody knows if you really schedule those meetings. Nobody knows if you go back to the YouTube channel and you actually listen to the recordings. Because sometimes people ask questions and it's like, you weren't on the call, were you? Like, you just didn't even check the channel before you asked me, did you, right? And I'm not talking about anyone personally, but it's like, guys, like, how many times, even for like the training on how to get prospects and how to do networking online, Mr. Thomas had me do like 2 or 3 trainings. They're all on the YouTube channel. The 100 squares, I've even trained on that before. All we need to do is take initiative and take responsibility and just go do it. Now, the school story of getting a C and then your parents tell you that you earned that C, that it could have been an A, you think they're crazy, number 1, right? Number 2, you're just like, you're supposed to be on my side and you're like going against me, right? That's how we felt as we were kids. We didn't know, right? We didn't know anything about responsibility. We didn't know anything about initiative, about commitment, about consistency, about the compound effect or any of these things. We learned that as we started growing up. So why do we do that in our business? How many of us, just be super, super honest, Mr. Thomas is not going to say anything. How many of us ever gave our upline any type of excuse for anything? Like any type of excuse for anything, or reasons, even reasons, right? How Mr. Thomas asked for the number in the box. How many of us were like, well, oh my God, let me tell you what happened with this guy. So, and he's like, okay, so did he join? Like, did he join, right? Like, it's all about results. Like, only the number goes in the box, not the story, right? So how many of us in ACN give excuses? It's my upline. It's my mentor. Oh, well, this person said this. This person said this. My family said it's a scam. I don't like my teammates. I don't like our team. I don't like our upline. I don't like our services. Like, whatever it is, like, how many of us give the same excuses in ACN, right? Now, let me tell you something. That C that we ever got back in elementary school, you know, 150% that could have been an A. You know that could have been an A. Because then guess what? When you started growing up and you got to high school and the teacher really just like just got to you, you know that when you worked for that A, you got that A. It just happened to be in high school, but not elementary school, right? You know you were able to get that A. So why do you treat yourself like the elementary kid in your business? You're the boss. Don't treat yourself as a CQ. Don't treat yourself as an ETL, because guess what? Those positions, the titles, the pin doesn't make the position. Okay, the pin means nothing. It's just physical. Like we just got, look, let me show you guys. So we just got our RD pin. It just barely came in like last week and we hit this in March, right? Thanks to the situation that's happening. The mail was late, but I'm not gonna wear this. You know why? Because this isn't the final destination. Like, I'm not here to just be an RD. And I know you're not here just to be a CQ. You're not here just to be an ETL. You're not here just to be an RD or an RVP. When you got into this business, and if you've still been on this call, and if you've been plugging into Mr. Thomas's call consistently, this is not, oh, oops, wrong way. Totally messed that up. But this is not your end goal. Like, this means nothing, right? You know that you didn't get in the game to just play it. You got in the game to change it. But if you're not going to take initiative, if you're not going to take the baton and you're not going to run with it, you're not going to make it. You have to take the baton and you have to run, because guess what? Your family knows your grandparents' story. They know your parents' story. Why don't they know your story? Who's the one that's going to change the legacy out of the 3 that run the race? You know that by doing ACN, you have completely shifted what your family thinks about network marketing and one of those things. But it's up to you to prove it to them that it's not just one of those things. It's a thing that's going to change your entire legacy. So bye-bye physical labor, right? Use your brain, work smarter, not harder. So to everyone today, I'm telling you, take the baton and run. Just run. Take control and run. Mr. Thomas, that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Wow, wow, wow. Can we show her some love? My Lord, wow. That was phenomenal. My goodness, you know what, folks? Let's take a vote. How many want to come back next Monday? How many want to come back next Monday? Do part? Man, that was, oh my God, look at all the hands up. Lord have mercy. Wow, wow, wow. Oh, Miss Eileen, thank you for joining the call today. Wow, Lord have mercy. Mr. Bill Bailey, thank you so much, sir. Lord, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wow, thank you. Oh, Lord have mercy. Miss Pat, thank you so much. Wow, and Mr. Al Randolph, thank you so much. Miss Diane Collins, thank you so much. Man, Miss Patricia and Pat Harrison, Bowman, excuse me, up there in Elgin. Wow, look at all the hands, my Lord. Now, if I could take just a moment, Lord have mercy. I love how she included Mr. Julian Lewis in a quote, how you love yourself. See, a leader is taking notes on other leaders and regurgitating. I love that. She talked about Mr. Dean Torelli, regurgitated some of his things. That shows you she's been taking notes. Let's say number one, number one was vision. Number 2, commitment. Wow, wow. Number 3 was what? Consistency. Number 4 was 100 squares. Wow, the name, the date, when they saw the business, how they saw the business, what happened, how did they do that? Use it for the chart, and the follow was all on the chart. That was powerful. She even quoted Miss Burt. Enough. What is enough? Enough. Wow. Pain. Push through the pain. Lord have mercy. Woo! I got all kind of notes over here. That was one. I mean, this so methodically done. All out of y'all got great notes out of the day. And whoa, whoa, whoa! Did she drop the mic on us? Wow, Mr. Julian Lewis, tomorrow's your day, sir. Woo! We know how good you are, but today, Miss Natasha Ismail really brought it in methodically with a lot of great information. My God, I took a bunch of notes. Thank you so much. Tonight, everybody, look, go out and just get people on there. Get people on there. Get people on this call tomorrow morning when the great Mr. Julian Lewis from Southern California, San Diego, will be bringing the message. I mean, he told us about how to love ourselves, was last week. The week before that, he was so incredible, still impressed on my mind, the Harriet Tubman story. See, that's a good leader. I mean, you can remember their stories. My God. Miss Ismail, let's give her one more hand, one more hand, one more hand. And you'll be posting this one tonight. It'll be posted on the site. Wow, wow. Thank you all for being on the call. Mr. Dumpont with another one. Thank you so much. We want to thank all of you folks. But here again, get people on the call tomorrow morning to hear Mr. Julian Lewis. Tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, we'll be doing the 1 through 10 and a quick start training. On Wednesday, the same thing, 9 o'clock, and then we have a quick start. Oh, this coming Wednesday, our guest speaker is from the home office of Vivid. Mr. Anthony Miles Woods is going to come back with some testimonials on live calls to help save people's lives. So you don't want to miss Wednesday. I'm always trying to pack in good speakers for you guys to help you learn and build your ACM business. And on Thursday and Friday, I can't tell you who. I cannot say who. You got to be on here to listen. As my dear friend Brian Baker would say, ha ha, ha ha. So anyway, God bless you all. Have a great start of the week. It's Monday. My Lord, my head is still exploding with all these notes. I got to go back and go through because she did a great job pushing through the pain when there's enough, enough. Have you asked yourself that? Wow. So Miss Ismail, thank you so much. God bless everybody. Have a great Monday. Remember, get out there and get some customers and get some people lined up for the business. God bless. Thank you so much. See everybody tomorrow morning. Wow.